Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and the Midnight expansion hype is unreal, as over the last few days we've gotten so much information regarding this brand new expansion, the second chapter in the World Soul Saga. Already on the channel we've covered the major changes, such as a Demon Hunters getting a third pack that is Void themed, the Haranier allied race, a lot of the major components that are going to be available for the expansion. However, since then we've gotten even more additional information regarding just about every single feature, from a revamp to how we'll be able to experience the open world, to a new difficulty mode for the open world content. Obviously additional information regarding housing, but also some of the fan requested features that are actually finally being implemented as part of the Midnight expansion. However, I also noticed not as many players are talking about these smaller features that got announced earlier today. Like a lot of these items I feel like really went under the radar. So I wanted to do a separate video highlighting those small but crucial features that are actually going to be a huge change of pace for the next expansion of Midnight. As always, if you guys want to keep up with any regular Midnight updates, like future announcements or potentially alpha, beta, or the release date, whenever we get that in the future, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. First of all, let's get to one of the most hyped up fan favorite features that'll be part of this expansion. And this one I feel like Blizzard just gotta blaze through very quickly, but Transmogging will finally be made free, completely free once Midnight launches. Mogs have been a thing in WoW for quite a while. Mount collecting is one thing, collecting transmogs is another, and Collector's Bounty, I'm pretty sure, ended up being one of the most popular fan events they've ever created, allowing players to get a higher chance to collect mounts, but also transmogs from various raids to add to their collections, with so many different sets to collect, so many unique items to collect. Transmog an entire set can cost anywhere between 500 to 1,000 gold, and every time you get like a new item, piece of gear, and you need to fix that in order to complete your set, that costs gold too. So they're not necessarily removing old gold costs, but once you create your set, when you get a new piece, to fix your set, there's going to be no gold cost whatsoever. So as you're delving into Midnight and you're getting a bunch of leveling gear, replacing all of your raid and dungeon gear from past expansion into the new one, you're going to be constantly having to refix your transmog again and again. The cost for fixing it won't be there. However, making a new set will still have a cost. Not only players are going to be able to save thousands of gold through transmogging, but also they're going to add another way for you to be able to transmog your character through situations. Normally, the only quote-unquote situations we have for transmogs is like if you have a mog for all specs, or specifically maybe for each and every single one of your specs. So your marksmanship hunter will look like a proper ranger, maybe your survival hunter will look more barbaric, while your beastmaster hunter maybe will look more like technology themed with like maybe mechanical pets. And this allows you to transmog your character in a variety of ways, but apparently there's also going to be a mod section for situations as well. And this is likely going to be very light. Like maybe let's say you're heading over to your player house in Midnight and you want to have like a more relaxed fit for your character, a situational fit where you look more just like a villager coming back home to the farm. So it'd be kind of cool, like while you're exploring, you have maybe like some kind of like a lighter traveler explorer outfit. When you go into a raid or a dungeon, you get fully armored up, but at home you look at a little bit more chill and relaxed. However, it's also possible they'll do some cool situational things, like when it comes to raid mechanics. Like some of the raid fights that we've had over these past few expansions, you actually wanted to divide one team into one side and another team into another side. A lot of players, how they dealt with that mechanic is the red team painted all their mugs red, while the blue team went all blue for their transmogs. And it actually made it easier for you to be able to tell if you're about to run into a blue player or red player or not. So many are wondering just how far they're going to go with these situational transmogs. And I think stuff like this could be really cool when it comes to certain boss and raid mechanics. Now, Midnight as an expansion is going to be all about player freedom and player choice, and one of the things they're going to be doing is letting you explore any of the 4 zones of Midnight in any pace that you see fit. So, for example, the forests of Quel'Thalas are looking kind of jank a little outdated to be fair. Like a good classic touch to them, but nobody really comes back here that much unless you're like on an RP server maybe. But there's just not a lot of reasons for you to go back, and it's going to be really nice to have the entire of this zone as well as the Ghostlands, the Zul Farak area, or is it Zul-Aman? Oh, Zul-Aman. So all those areas are going to be completely revamped with Alqual Danas plus 2 new zones. One, the homeworld of the Haranir, or at least somewhere near the homeworld of Haranir, the bioluminescent forest with mushrooms and stuff. But also there's going to be even more void space stuff going on as well. And the freedom of letting players choose where you want to quest is going to be very, very similar to Legion, which is another fan requested feature. Normally Blizzard just puts us on a very specific path and we're just kind of stuck to each zone and can't really skip any. But in Midnight you'll be able to quest anywhere you want to in any of the 4 gorgeous zones. Another feature that I think a lot of people really miss out on is a new updated player experience. So if you are a brand new player coming back to the game, or if you're somebody who's played WoW in the past, but just need a bit of a refresher when it comes to some of the mechanics in order to get yourself better prepared for Midnight, they're looking to revamp that completely by not only revamping some of these starting areas like Exile's Reach, which is by itself is going to go through a transformation, but apparently they're going to be changing the experience with some new characters, you know, including Thrall and Jaina, some of the core characters of this expansion, likely to help you catch up on the story so far, but also to teach players mechanics. A lot of the times when you just have a new player go into the game by themselves, no guides, no videos, you're just instructed to level through the main story chapters until you make it all the way to max level. And then Blizzard expects those players to jump into delves, to jump into dungeons, and a lot of the times when they jump into the group activities like dungeons, for example, the open world leveling path doesn't necessarily teach them how to play their class. It doesn't really do a great job of it. So they're looking to revamp that experience by allowing brand new players to have a new version of Exile's Reach, explore skywriting at their own pace to really get used to it, to then go through some of the different storylines with Lord Rocket Show and experience mechanics in order to get them better prepared for Midnight. But also players that, let's say, have played the game for a while, that maybe, you know, haven't played in the last few expansions but are looking to come back from Midnight, there's going to be an experience for those players as well. So if you're someone who's played the game before, you don't really want a completely brand new player experience, but just a refresher for some of the things to get you better prepared for Midnight, you will be able to tackle those things in a separate scenario, which I think is a really, really good change, that they're even adding mechanics as part of that new player journey. And I think it's something that sorely has been missing, of them finding ways to be able to give players a way to be able to learn those things as they make the way to max level. Now, another mechanic that's coming out in the Midnight expansion is going to be this new mode called Prey, which Blizzard actually has given us more information about. Previously, it sounded like you're just going to have a bounty, chasing down after an NPC, you slay it, and then you're good to go. But apparently, it's going to be a little bit much more than that. It's almost like a way for you to make open world content a little bit more dangerous. The way that they described it is kind of like enabling war mode out in open world, but for PvE content and players chasing a PvE challenge to some degree. War mode, when you have it enabled, it gives you a couple of different perks like bonus experience gain, bonus reputation, but also allows other players of the opposing faction to be able to attack you on sight. So you basically are enabling a harder version of open world where players can just attack you anytime they want to. Like a rogue can just sneak up and ruin your day mid-quest, that can happen, but you are choosing to make the world a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more exciting, and there's also a reward to go with it. So this new Prey mode is going to be very similar to war mode, but instead of encountering rogues while out in the open world, instead you'll make the world a bit more dangerous with this character, this target that you'll be facing, whether it's a Zandalari troll, maybe some Void Rift mages, maybe some sort of an ethereal that's escaped, that's your current focus target that you try to take down. They're going to be hunting you at the same time. And these enemies can swoop in out of nowhere. You can be mid-quest, super low in health, they swoop in out of left field and encourage you, or sometimes force you to fight them, drop you down into a circle. You can't escape it unless you fight them back, bunch of mechanics, attack you out of nowhere, and can potentially take you down while you're trying to hunt them this entire time, trying to deal with them at the same time. It makes the open world content a little bit deadlier with this enemy, this boss-like enemy, very similar I imagine to like Kaveza from Delves, the Underpin from Season 2, or Zekvir, like a very big enemy that will be chasing after you with their own sets of mechanics, ambushing you, very similar to like a Dark Souls ambush or a Dark Souls invasion. And I'm actually kind of excited to see how that's going to pan out, because even the open world content at max level doesn't necessarily draw up a lot of challenge for players, but they're trying to find a way to add new challenges and rewards, which potentially could be even seasonal. Like maybe every season they give you new marks to hunt down and new rewards to unlock, so enabling a more difficult version of open world could potentially be much more rewarding than ever before. Of course, the biggest feature of Midnight is housing, and I feel like on this channel we've covered a lot when it comes to housing. However, Blizzard has even more information regarding what the housing system is gonna be like, and I wanted to kind of rattle off any of the little features that they mentioned recently that most players did not really know about before. One of the things I want to do is make sure that the housing, the whole point of you owning a house, the whole process of it, is as painless as it can be. So one thing they're going to do for the housing in Midnight is the upkeep costs for housing are basically going to be non-existent. You will need to refresh your sub, and if let's say you want to unsubscribe from the game at some point, you'll still get to keep your house. You won't have to keep coming back every week or every month just to maintain a home. Once you own a plot of land with your own house, that's it, you own it forever. They're also going to be awarding players, especially veteran players who have been playing for a while, a bunch of cosmetics as soon as you log in. Once housing is available, they're just going to be giving a lot of players a slew of cosmetics and decorations to put in the house. Players have been playing for a while won't have to go back and re-earn some of those rewards from previous expansions and previous feats of strength in order to obtain some of the different decor. They're just going to get it immediately, which is going to be super nice as well. And one of the most popular requests I've heard, and actually I've heard this a lot from a lot of other players as well, is guild halls. A lot of players apparently have been asking Blizzard to add a guild hall. So let's say you own an entire neighborhood with your guild. What if everybody had a house, but then you could also decorate a big guild hall where your guild could maybe congregate, massive table, potentially you could, decorate it with an armory, maybe like a room for trained dummies so you could have DPS races with the rest of the group and things like that. Something like this is something that they are actually really keen on hearing out, and potentially may even be adding in the future. As they said themselves, this is the most requested feature they've heard from anybody that's been able to test ARC housing early at Gamescom so far, and that is something that potentially could be on the radar in the near future. But with that, for now, that's going to be everything new that we learned so far regarding the Midnight expansion. And as always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like, as it would help reach a wider audience and help me out tremendously. Also, join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with any newest updates regarding Midnight as soon as they appear. Community loves to dive into all the newest topics immediately. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.